Synchronicity, Psynchronicity, alternatively spelled Synchr, by the man who coined the term, Carl Jung, is the concept or phenomenon of meaningful coincidence or acausal parallelism. This can be conceptualized as being in opposition to mere coincidence, which is the concept of an apparently meaningful, deceptively so due to a variety of cognitive biases and methodological errors, yet statistically insignificant co-occurrence of two or more causally disconnected phenomena as a simple consequence of the laws of probability theory, in particular the law of truly large numbers. In contrast, synchronicity is proposed to be a kind of meaningful synchronization between two or more causally unrelated contexts by virtue of some acausal connective principle which is responsible for bringing the course of events in various contexts into a parallel alignment with some psychic state or content. I spell this word with the PSY prefix to denote the relationship between synchronicity, psychology, and psychic phenomena. However, the prefix that Jung picked is significant also, in that it emphasizes the nature of the synchronistic experience, which relates to the coming together of many things, which is to say the alignment or synchronization of various factors to produce a window of opportunity for growth and for new experience. When I first came across synchronicity, I described it to myself in a fashion similar to the way Jung characterizes examples he offers, although I had never read Jung myself at the time. Jung says, "When coincidences pile up in this way, one cannot help being impressed by them. For the greater the number of terms in such a series, or the more unusual its character, the more improbable it becomes." My version of it was like so. First, let us say that you experience one coincidence, a mere coincidence, that catches your attention somehow. Then, let us say that what you might see, if you were astute and attentive to the subtleties of the matter, as you peered intently at the first coincidence, was a second coincidence, which was, in some strange way, connected to the first, yet you knew it could not be. So, a coincidence of coincidences, so to speak, in that we have now a pair of coincidences between which can be perceived a kind of parallelism or meaningful connection, for which a causal explanation appears to be, in every conceivable way, utterly impossible. Then let us imagine that upon witnessing such a state of affairs and experiencing renewed interest in relation to this phenomena, that it might be possible to perceive a certain alignment between the two coincidences which is induced through an association between some subjective state of affairs and a message or sign which has constellated recently in the individual's experience that impels them to act on the coincidences. A decision that then crystallizes an opportunity to play out the repeating theme which is the parallel. And because it has recently constellated in the individual as something meaningful, as some sign, they therefore perceive in the opportunity a chance to learn about themselves and to achieve growth. So here we see we have three of a kind, and when we have three or more of this kind, we begin to approach a kind of statistical impossibility, wherein the probability of any one of the events individually is low, to be sure, but the coalescence of them all brings about a new dimension almost in how improbable this falling together in time really is. Or, at least, the skeptic must grant me this: it certainly does seem strange. Such an impression is only strengthened when we begin to notice that these coincidences can and often do occur between contexts which, according to the classically scientific view of reality, cannot be causally connected. such as, for instance, the alignment of certain events with your own internal machinations, such that an opportunity presents itself to you at just the right time, which would not have been possible were it not for X and Y. Material determinants, such as losing your job due to poor performance at work and too many sick days, for instance, yet would have been just as impossible without A and B. Psychological determinants, which were contingent on some experience you would not normally have exposed yourself to, yet were exposed to on the most recent day that you failed to attend work after having slept through your alarm, thinking that you would just be taking a sick day. Thinking, that is, that what you were doing was insignificant. This piece of novelty, which normally you would not have been exposed to because part of your experience by chance, this piece of novelty, which normally you would not have been exposed to, became part of your experience by chance because you happened to sleep through your alarm and was undertaken on a whim, an intuition from a vague omen, a message from a dream, or a lesson learned recently. This experience had some kind of impact on you. It affected your attitude in the coming days and weeks. Perhaps your goals or your dreams shifted like the sands, and this attitude shift contributed to losing your job. Yet, just as the constellation of events leads to the termination of your current role, an opportunity manifests as an extension of the original experience. An opportunity which reflects the shift in your attitude somehow. So, if we can observe and thus must suppose that there is some type of strange parallelism between the realization of the pairs A and B with X and Y, we would be forced to consider that there might be some kind of a-causal relationship between the two pairs, because such an alignment seems more than merely improbable, even taking the law of truly large numbers into account. There are many ways to communicate the notion of synchronicity, and each individual experiences the phenomenology of synchronicity in accordance with the native language of their own personal cognitive architecture. So there are certain barriers to communicating some of the features of the experience. However, it is possible to get a general sense of what is meant by the idea, first by reviewing the definitions, metaphorical and technical, that I provide here in this lecture, and second, by attempting to discern from the accounts given by others the qualities and regularities of the experience which are common between contexts and among individuals. This means that, in order to effectively generate a model of this territory, you will need to learn to notice the parallel threads that connect all things together, and you will need to study the recursively resonant nature of these parallels. As a final note on the nature of synchronicity, I will say this. The music of reality is a transcendental symphony the likes of which we have never known. It is a beautifully immaculate mystery of such profound depth that we have always only ever just begun to scratch the surface of its arcane secrets. The world that we experience is filtered and construed by the framework we project onto it, and we perceive only that which we have developed the faculty for. All else is lost upon us, and we are blind to it, keen as our vision may be. The proposition is simply this. There is an octave of order in nature which exists and is manifest above what you are capable of perceiving, and this is what is meant by synchronicity. Furthermore, I believe that it is possible not only to develop the faculty for perceiving this higher octave of order, but to train yourself to track it, and to touch it. Hey guys, thanks for watching that lecture excerpt. For more, subscribe to my channel and don't forget to check out my Patreon and my other work linked in the description below.